Most travelers come to Finland for one thing, the Northern Lights. But beyond the famous winter skies are thousands of lakes, forests that seem endless, Arctic towns where the sun disappears for weeks, and summer nights where it barely sets at all. And most visitors never experience both sides, because Finland isn't just a winter destination. It's two completely different worlds in one country. One built from ice and darkness and aurora-lit skies, the other from water, forest, and a sun that refuses to go down. What people think Finland is. When people think of Finland, they usually imagine snow, frozen landscapes and northern lights, and long winter nights. And that version absolutely exists. The same country that spends months covered in snow transforms into a landscape of lakes, forests, and nearly endless daylight. Temperatures rise, ice melts, forests grow dense and green almost overnight, and the sun that was absent for weeks in winter lingers so long in summer that the concept of night becomes almost theoretical. And once you move beyond the postcard images, Finland starts revealing a very different personality, one that most visitors don't expect, and many never get the chance to see: Helsinki, the anchor. For many travelers, Helsinki becomes the starting point. Finland's capital sits beside the Baltic Sea, compact enough to walk across, but layered with more depth than its size might suggest. The city blends modern architecture, historic buildings, and nature surprisingly well. Parks appear throughout the city, not as afterthoughts between buildings, but as genuine breathing spaces woven into the urban fabric. Helsinki often surprises first-time visitors, not because it's loud, but because it isn't. The city doesn't perform for tourists. It simply exists, confidently and on its own terms, with a design culture, culinary scene, and architectural identity that reward those who take time to look closely. Lapland, Finland's Arctic world. Far north of Helsinki lies Lapland, the region most travelers associate with Finland. Winter dominates much of the year here. Temperatures drop well below freezing. Snow covers forests so completely that entire landscapes become monochrome, stripped back to white ground, dark tree lines, and sky. The Northern Lights. Green and purple waves moving across the Arctic sky in patterns that shift and ripple without warning, visible on clear nights between September and March for those patient enough to wait. And while the lights are never guaranteed, the experience of Lapland goes far beyond them. Reindeer herding communities maintain traditions that stretch back centuries. Husky farms offer journeys through silent forest trails, and snowmobile routes cut across frozen terrain that stretches toward the Norwegian and Russian borders. Lapland isn't just a backdrop for watching the sky. It's an environment that asks something of the people who enter it. Finland's lake region. In central Finland, another side of the country appears. One built around water. Finland has more than 180,000 lakes, a density of inland water found almost nowhere else on Earth, covering roughly a tenth of the country's total surface area. And many people spend summers near them. And increasingly, travelers are doing the same, renting lakeside cabins for a week and discovering that a slower pace has its own kind of value. The lake region doesn't have famous landmarks or scheduled attractions. It has stillness, and for many visitors, that turns out to be exactly what they needed. Most visitors leave Finland thinking they've seen it, but the deeper you explore, the more it changes. Winter gives way to something unrecognizable. Cities dissolve into wilderness, and every season offers a version of the country that couldn't exist at any other time of year. If you enjoy discovering destinations beyond the obvious, this channel is built for that. Daily life and the Finnish way of living. One thing travelers often notice about Finland isn't a landmark, it's the lifestyle. Nature remains part of everyday life in ways that feel integrated rather than deliberate. People spend time outdoors throughout the year, not only when the weather cooperates, but through every season, adapting to conditions rather than waiting for them to improve. Even during winter, when temperatures drop and darkness settles in for months, life continues outside. Children play in the snow. Adults walk trails through frozen forests. And the cold is treated not as something to endure, but simply as part of the cycle. Cities feel organized. Public spaces feel clean and accessible. And daily life often appears less rushed than many visitors expect, shaped by cultural values that place genuine importance on personal time, quiet, and the simple act of being present. The Finnish approach to life is often built around balance: work, nature, family, and personal space. A philosophy that doesn't announce itself, but becomes visible in nearly every aspect of daily life, from how people navigate cities to how they spend their free time. Sauna culture, more than a tradition. If there's one experience connected to Finland more than any other, it's the sauna. There are millions of saunas across the country, attached to homes, apartment buildings, office complexes, lakeside cabins, and even public spaces in the center of Helsinki. More than enough for every household to have access to one, and in many cases, more than one. For many Finns, the sauna isn't an attraction. It's simply part of life. The traditional experience involves heat, steam from water poured over hot stones, and for those near a lake, a plunge into cold water immediately after. A contrast that sounds extreme, but quickly becomes one of the most physically satisfying experiences the country offers. And for visitors, it's often one of the most memorable parts of the trip. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's real. Food and culture. Finnish food reflects the landscape around it with a directness that leaves little room for pretension. Fish plays an important role, shaped by geography and centuries of proximity to sea, river, and lake. Especially salmon, prepared in ways that range from slow-smoked to simply grilled over an open fire at a lakeside camp. Wild berries appear throughout summer, picked from forests and roadsides by people who have known which paths to follow since childhood. Lingonberries, cloudberries, blueberries, and dozens of others that color markets and dessert plates in shades that feel almost too vivid to be real. And coffee culture is surprisingly strong. Meals here often feel simple, but closely connected to nature and seasonality, shaped by what the land provides and when it provides it. Why Finland is growing in popularity. Travel habits are changing. Increasingly, travelers are looking for places that offer something different. Places that haven't been completely reshaped by the pressures of mass tourism. Where landscapes remain intact, communities feel authentic, and the experience of simply being somewhere hasn't been packaged into something unrecognizable. Less crowded destinations, more nature, and experiences that feel genuine rather than performed. Finland fits that shift perfectly. The infrastructure is reliable and easy to navigate. Safety isn't a concern. And the country's relationship with nature, built into its culture at a level most countries can't replicate, gives visitors access to environments that feel genuinely wild even when they're relatively accessible. Many visitors still arrive for winter, drawn by Northern Lights tours and Lapland's Arctic atmosphere. But more travelers are now discovering the country's lakes, forests, hiking trails, and summer landscapes, returning in different seasons or simply staying long enough to watch Finland change around them. And they're staying longer. Who this side of Finland is for? This side of Finland is for travelers who enjoy contrast. For people who want both adventure and quiet, winter and summer, cities and wilderness. It's for travelers who don't need constant activity to be impressed. Who can sit with stillness long enough to recognize it as something valuable rather than something to escape. Who find more meaning in a sunrise over a frozen lake or a silent evening paddle through a Finnish archipelago than in any amount of scheduled entertainment. Because Finland's greatest strength isn't spectacle, it's atmosphere. And atmosphere is something that can't be photographed completely or described quite accurately enough. It has to be felt. Finland isn't just snow and northern lights. It's forests, lakes, traditions, and landscapes that change dramatically with the seasons, each one offering a version of the country that feels entirely different from the last. And once you move beyond the obvious places, you realize how much more there is. How many quiet moments are waiting. How much the country rewards patience. And how a place this far from the center of everything has managed to build a life that many people, once they experience it, find surprisingly difficult to leave behind. Subscribe for more journeys beyond the tourist version. And tell us, would you rather experience Finland under the northern lights or beneath the midnight sun?